Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rhett and I am 2.5 years sober. Haven't had a drink in 2.5 years and really happy about that. Today I want to talk about something that is important in any facet of life, especially if you're trying to quit drinking or quit anything else or build a positive habit in your life. And you'll hear me on videos at the end say, be kind to yourself. Now, the reason I feel like this is so important is I struggle. I still struggle, not as bad as I used to, um, with positive self-talk, with being kind to myself. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that process, my journey, my struggle with it, and hopefully it can help you. I'm sure many of you watching this maybe struggle with the same thing. When I was working through trying to get sober, trying to quit drinking, there was obviously many setbacks. And when those setbacks occurred, I was really hard on myself, and it it didn't help. It made things worse than they probably needed to be, and which probably, looking back, made it harder to quit drinking because I was so hard on myself and I would get depressed and I would have these feelings of guilt and shame, and my confidence was super low. I had thoughts of why can't I quit? I have always felt like I have a strong willpower or desire to accomplish goals, to set goals and reach them or surpass them. And when I got it in my mind that I was going to quit drinking, it didn't happen overnight. It took 2, 3 years before I was able to finally quit for good. And, in the span of those 2 to 3 years, there was definitely some really difficult moments. And I think if I would have treated myself better or treated myself, with love and compassion, that maybe my path would have been a little easier, a little smoother. Maybe it wouldn't have taken me 2 to 3 years to quit. And I know I know other people struggle with this. I've struggled with it my whole life. And this goes back to my childhood, and maybe you can relate. Is as a kid, you I had the feeling that I was talked down to a lot, and I probably deserved it because I was a little shithead kid. I didn't listen to my parents. I didn't listen to my teachers. I had this feeling, this kind of victim mentality, like everyone was out for me, trying to tell me what to do, trying to tell me how to live my life. And looking back, obviously they were just trying to help me. They had their best interests for me at heart. But at that age, you don't really grasp that. You don't understand it. I just saw it as, who are these people trying to tell me what to do? Like, they have no business telling me what to do, especially my parents, teachers, any authority figure. I automatically just was against. And that kind of developed into high school, into college, and into my adult life. Always thinking someone was, out to get me, or, who are these people to tell me how to live my life? I know what's best for me, and that's it. And I always felt like people were talking down to me, or that's how I was motivated. Playing sports, coaches are, they motivate you to play well or to do better by screaming at you or talking down to you, using names. And I did that to myself, as I grew up and I was put in situations that were tough. Instead of talking to myself in a kind manner, I was always pushing and motivating myself by basically talking shit to myself, you know, using names like you idiot, you loser, like this is nothing, toughen up, quit being a blank, quit being a this, quit being a that. And looking back, like in the moment, it it motivated me to a certain degree, but I wasn't happy. Like the end result that I was looking for was accomplished, but the way I went about doing it was it was awful. I wasn't in a good mental state, even though I accomplished my goal, it didn't feel as good as it probably should have if I would have been nicer to myself. And so it looking back, it's definitely a double-edged sword because maybe if I didn't talk to myself that way, I wouldn't have accomplished those goals. But at the same time, there there's a better way of going about it. And I think I would have appreciated the journey, not just the end destination, a lot more. And I would have appreciated accomplishing my goals a lot more if I would have been kinder to myself. But again, at the time, that's all I knew. And now getting to my journey of quitting drinking, there were times where I would go a few weeks, a few months, and then I'd, slip up, have a drink, and I'd lose all my momentum, I'd lose all my confidence, and the negative self talk would come back in, and I'd beat myself up over and over and over again. And just like, why can't I do this? So frustrated with myself. There was definitely a lot of guilt and a lot of shame with not being able to quit alcohol and realizing the power that alcohol had over me and had over my life. There were times where I had instances where, I'd slip up and have a drink. Well, it was never just a drink. Let's be honest. It was quite a few. It was way too much, and I always woke up regretting it the next day. And when you're hungover, your body's dehydrated, your brain's dehydrated, you're just not in a good place. And then you pile on top of that the negative talking, the negative comments about yourself. It just snowballs, and you're just in this hole of just depression and low self-worth. It's not a good place to be. And I certainly did not enjoy it. So if you are quitting drinking, or you have the idea in your head, or you're in the middle of it, be kind to yourself. We're all dealing with different things, and how you talk to yourself really makes a difference. I still have that voice in my head today, although I'm nicer to myself. I and if I'm not, I catch myself. If I say something like, if I make a mistake, or if I could have done something better, instead of getting on myself and being super hard on myself and being negative, uh, I'm I'm getting better at catching myself and reframing that into a more positive statement. You know, it could be like, instead of, "Oh, you idiot, you should have done this. You know better than that," to, "Well, you made a mistake. That's okay. Learn from it. Don't make it again, and you'll do better next time." And just step back from maybe the mistake and observe it as something separate than yourself, you know? And that's allowed me to navigate life, navigate through struggles a lot easier. Life isn't just, rainbows and butterflies. Everyone goes through different struggles, and it's really how you handle them. You can allow your mistakes to define you or bring you down, or you can see them as opportunities to learn and grow and to become a better person. And it's going to be constant work. You're always working to be better than you were yesterday. And one thing that I heard, I think maybe in a YouTube video or in a book somewhere, is if you're working with children, or if you have a child and they're learning to do something, talk to yourself like you talk to that child. If they're learning to read or learning to ride a bike and they're struggling, you wouldn't talk down to them, demean them, call them names if they weren't able to do it, right away. You would speak to them in a positive tone. You would show them encouragement and motivate them to do better. If a kid is struggling to read, you wouldn't stand over their shoulder and mock them and call them names, because that's not going to help them get any better. So when you're going through these moments of struggle and you're going to, start bashing yourself, speak to your inner child. Speak to yourself as if you were a child. Encourage yourself, maybe acknowledge the mistake, but look at it from a more positive mindset. And that'll help you just get through all kinds of struggles, especially when you're struggling with alcohol. You might be sober for a few weeks, and you get yourself into an environment where there's alcohol around, and you're like, oh, I can have one drink, and then it leads to a place you don't want to be. And of course, you're going to have that morning the next day where you're super upset with yourself. You start talking shit to yourself, and it just snowballs into, again, that dark hole. I've been there so many times, and I wish I would have been a little nicer to myself, been kinder to myself. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, please be kind to yourself, and we'll see you on the next one.